Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum everyone. I'm your English teacher Zia. I hope that you're doing well. I welcome you to English Grade 7 video lessons. My dear learners, we are on Unit 5 and we are going to cover a student's learning outcome of grammar from our Unit 5. The title is Empowered Women, Nation Builders. This is our lecture number 1 and we are going to explore the competency of grammar. We do grammar as our initial lectures because they are very important to build your basics. So doing that first makes sense, and it is very important that we cover grammar SLOs first and then vocabulary and reading, oral and writing. So let's get started by reading our students' learning outcome to see what we are supposed to do and how we can achieve it by the end of our lesson. So our students' learning outcome is all about adjectives. It says use different types of adjectives, regular, irregular and absolute, to describe, modify, quantify nouns or pronouns. So, and also our topic is also about types of adjectives. Now we know that adjectives are words that modify our nouns and also pronouns, but there are degrees of adjectives and they are used for comparisons. There are regular and irregular adjectives, and we are also going to see absolute adjectives and how do they work. Now here is your vertical linkage of this SLO related with the previous grade students' learning outcome, so that you can relate to it and you can retain as much information as you can. Now, after this, we will be doing a very good brainstorming session. It's time to storm your brains a little bit and think independently and individually. Think about that. How can you think of words that could describe something? The size, color, shape, or how they make you feel. So now there are words that are specifically for this purpose. Think about them and try to see that how it is related to our topic. Good. Moving on with our topic, which is about adjectives. First, we will be talking about a definition of adjectives. We will revise it. You already know this, but let's revise it together. So adjective, we know, is a part of speech, and an adjective is a word that describes or modifies a noun or pronoun. Means it gives a little description about our noun or pronoun, and also it modifies, it does some modification and some more, brings a different modification and change into our noun or pronoun. And the purpose is to give more information about the noun or pronoun. And it tells more about the noun, like its size. Now we know that noun is the name of any person, place, thing, or any concept or idea. We can tell its size, its quality, shape, etc., and so many other qualities. And colors can also be used as an adjective to describe a noun or pronoun. Let's look at some examples over here. Can you spot our noun? Yes, cake is our noun. But what is this word? Delicious. It is telling us that the cake is delicious. So it is giving more information about our noun. It's describing our noun, and it's also telling us the taste of the cake. Now the cake is delicious. This noun, diamond over here, and our word is describing the noun. This is a sparkly diamond. Here, beautiful flower. Flower is our noun, and beautiful is telling us about the quality, the beauty of our noun. Here, this is also telling us more information about our noun. So other than these, the shape, size, quality, quantity, all these can be told through using some words, and they are adjectives that are helping our nouns to describe them and to modify them. It is very simple. I hope that you can remember it now and keep it in your mind, because we are going to learn about degrees of adjectives, and we use the degrees to do comparison. When we are comparing two things or more than two things together, this is when we are using the comparison degrees or degrees of comparison. Now, let's see how many degrees we have of adjectives, and we do this for comparison. Adjectives have degrees of comparison. Number one is positive degree of adjective, or affirmative degree, which means the same thing. Then we have comparative degree of adjectives, and then the superlative degree of adjectives. Now, let us look at them with examples. So, the sentence is, the cat runs fast. Now, this is a positive degree. No comparison is being made. We are telling about the cat who's running. There is no comparison. But if you want to make a comparison, let's say comparative degree, you say the cat runs faster than the dog. Here, the cat's running is being compared with the dog, and we are using the word faster, adding er to it, and also then for comparison. So we are comparing two things. And for the superlative degree of adjective, we can say that what thing is the most highest and the fastest. The cat runs fastest of all animals. Now we are comparing cat with all other animals. There can be more than one and lot of them. So you can see that in the positive degree there is no comparison. For comparative degree, we are comparing two things by adding er with our adjective and then using the word then to make the comparison. And in the superlative degree of adjective, we are comparing one thing with the rest of things to declare that this thing is the most high or fast. So this is why you use these three different kind of degrees of comparison. Now let's talk about degrees of adjectives. Some are regular, like comparative and superlative degrees, and we also have irregular adjectives that make that do not add er or est or then with them. So we will be seeing first the regular adjectives, which are comparative and superlative. So in order to make comparative and superlative degrees of adjective, if you want to compare two things to show an equal comparison, we will be using the form as plus adjective and also adding as at the end. And this way we can compare two things that are equal. For example, Fatima is as tall as the bookshelf. Now we are comparing Fatima, her height, with the bookshelf. Now both of them are of equal equality in terms of their height. In their when we say they are tall, so you can see over here that we used as, then our adjective, and then as according to this form. Another example is, the man is as strong as a horse. Now we are comparing the man's strongness with that of a horse. We are trying to say that they have equal kind of strength and they are strong. So when we are comparing two things that are equal, we are using as, then adjective, and then again as. Now, if you want to show an unequal comparison between two things, and there are two unequal things but you want to compare them, you will be using the form adjective with adding er and then adding then. Now, to show an unequal comparison using an adjective with one syllable, you must follow this form. For example, the weather today is warmer than yesterday, perfect for a picnic. Now, the weather today is being compared with the weather of yesterday. So we are using er with our adjective, which is warm, and then adding then. Now, this book is longer than the one I read last week. Again, you can see that with the adjective we are adding er and then we are adding then. Next, we have to show an unequal comparison using an adjective with more than one syllable that ends in y. We must omit and remove the y and add IER at the ending. The form is adjective plus IER plus then. For example, today is going to be busier than yesterday. Now you can see the spellings of busy is B-U-S-Y. We are omitting y and adding IER and then adding our word then. Now, this is also comparing today with yesterday. They are unequal. Now, if you want to show an unequal comparison using an adjective with more than one syllable that does not end in y, the ending of this adjective remains unchanged and you must use more or less before the adjective. For example, this room is more spacious than the one we had before. This material is less expensive than that one. You can see that we added more or less according to the situation, and then we added our adjectives followed by then. So, you can see clearly that when we are comparing two unequal things with an adjective and it has more than one syllable, you will be following this form to make a comparison. Now, if you want to show an unequal comparison, you need to use an adjective followed by a preposition such as of or in, on, etc. It may also be followed by the noun in which it is greater or lesser. It may also be followed by nothing else when the context is implicit. So for superlative adjectives with one syllable, add est to the ending. Now, comparing this with the superlative degree, we are adding our adjective, and at the end we will add est followed by any preposition to make unequal comparison followed by a preposition. For example, I visited the tallest building in the city. I read the funniest book of all time. You can see that we are using our prepositions for our superlative degree comparison. Now, what if we want to use our superlative degree with two syllables? And that is ending in y. So if you want to show a superlative degree, a comparison that ends in y, you minus the y and add ies to the end, and the form looks like this. Adjective with iest, you will be omitting the y and adding your preposition. For example, if the adjective is happy, now you want to show a superlative degree, you will remove the y and add iest at the end. It becomes happiest. Therefore, happiest is the superlative form of or superlative degree of happy. Busy becomes busiest and silly becomes silliest, and you have to remove the y and add iest at the end to make it in the superlative form. Now, what if the word is not ending in y? Then what we are supposed to do? Let's have a look. In that case, for adjectives with more that do not end in y, the spelling of the adjective remains unchanged and use most or least for the adjective. So we will be using the words more or before the adjective to make it correct. For example, most or least, then you will add your adjective followed by your preposition. For example, this is the most interesting place in the city to visit. Most interesting, because there is no y, then we will be using most and then our preposition or prepositional phrase. He was the least surprised person at the party. Surprise cannot be converted into surpriser or surprisest. Then we add the word least and then our preposition. So this is how you make a syllable with one syllable and that does not end with y. If you want to make the superlative degree, you remove the y and add iest at the end. You add your most or least first, followed by your adjective and then your preposition. Now all these were your regular adjectives. They can be transformed from in the perspective of comparative and superlative degrees. But what about words that cannot be changed and they cannot be transformed like regular adjectives? We call them irregular adjectives. So irregular adjectives are adjectives that do not change form by adding er or est or more or most. For example, the word good is an example of an irregular adjective because its comparative form is better and its superlative form is best. So you can see we didn't add er or est, nor did we add most or least. So these kind of adjectives will be called irregular adjectives. Now, I hope these things are very clear now. Moving on to our another kind of adjective that is mentioned in our students' learning outcome, it is absolute adjective. So absolute adjectives do not have comparative and superlative forms. If something is complete, then this is an absolute adjective. For example, we find numerous incredible women who have made their nations proud with their surprising work and achievements. So the word numerous over here, it is an adjective, but it's an absolute adjective, and numerous cannot be used in comparative and superlative sentences. So numerous is therefore an example of an absolute adjective. And there are a lot of different words. For example, the word unique or alive or dead. These are the words that and adjectives that cannot be having any comparative or superlative degree, hence they are your absolute adjectives. As you can see over here, we can make taller or tallest, but we cannot make the word alive into aliver or alivest or more alive or most alive, because if you're alive, then you are alive. If not, then you are not. So it is absolute, it is clear, so you don't add any kind of degrees into that. Now, pause the video, take a look at this, all these different words out there, and tell your teacher or note it down that whether they are absolute or not. For example, the word opposite is an absolute adjective. So if something is opposite, it is definitely and absolutely opposite. opposite. So you can do the rest of them by yourself, and here is your simulation link that you can watch later on to learn more about regular and irregular degrees of adjective. For your classroom activity, you have to choose the most appropriate degree and comparative adjectives from the multiple choice questions. And next, all these activities, and this is also for your practice, you have to use the comparative and superlative forms of the adjectives to describe the object or concept, and the examples are given, so you can make as many sentences as you can according to the instructions. This is your worksheet that is available in the resources. You can get them easily and put your knowledge and your learned concept into practice by solving it and submitting it to your teacher. For your homework, you have to write down the comparative and superlative degrees of the following adjectives that are given over here and classify them whether these adjectives are in the regular or irregular kind of category. At the end, I would like to introduce all these resources before you: worksheet, your presentation, and skill sheet, question bank, and also a lesson plan. All these are attached in the description of the video. My dear learners, thank you for listening. I hope that now you're very much clear about what are adjectives. There are different degrees of comparison: positive, comparative, and superlative, and some are regular, that are fulfilling the comparative and superlative degrees, but there are some adjectives that are irregular, and some of them are absolute and they do not have any kind of degree of comparison. So this is all about today's video lesson, and we have successfully covered our students learning outcome. See you in the next video lesson. Allah Hafiz.